All right, so I'm just going to put it live on the YouTube as well. So if anyone's over on the YouTube, welcome as well. Good to have you here. We'll get started soon. I'll do the classic intro soon as well, and then we'll be doing a whole bunch on EQ. So that'll be quite nice. We'll do a bit of a recap on the 3-day free mini challenge as well. Have a little chat about that, and then a little chat about the New Year challenge that's coming up as well. So we'll be doing a bit on that as well. So hopefully it'll be good for you guys. Looks like all the streams working okay and stuff on the computer and for here as well. So yeah, just check how that's going. Just going to sort a few things on my phone so the Instagram stream works okay as well. Okay, let's go back to Instagram. Yeah, we're still there. Nice one. Cool. That's good. Yeah, nice one. Cool. There we go. So I'll give it about 3 more minutes, then we'll get started. And then this will be available on the Rewatch on the YouTube as well for anyone who's wanting to see it again on the Rewatch or kind of watch the whole thing, kind of like a video tutorial. And there'll be a little bookmark on that when it's about to start as well. So that should be good for anyone who's wanting to kind of really get the most out of it as well. If you've missed any of it or kind of missed the start or anything, that should be good. For those who are interested, I'm using Ableton Live in this one on a track that we made in the 3-day mini challenge, but kind of EQ, these kind of tactics are going to work quite good on other DAWs like Logic or Cubase and stuff as well. Hey, Philip's here as well. How's it going, Phil? Hope you're good. Thanks for joining. Doing all about EQ just now on the live stream today, so that should be quite fun as well. So thanks for joining. Yeah, and yeah, good stuff. We had a couple of views over on the YouTube as well, so that's good to have them. So yeah, great stuff. And we'll get started properly at like 10:30 is the plan. And it's going to be on Ableton, but you know, it should work on other DAWs as well. And all about EQ really, because it's one of the best tools for like when you're mixing. It's pretty much one of the main things. So I thought it was worth doing a bit of a dive. It'll be last about 30 minutes today, this session probably. So go until about, 10:30 till 11 a.m. And that's the crack with that. So hope everyone's got nice plans for the rest of the day. Thought it'd be cool to get this done early on a Saturday before everyone goes out to their, having a good time off work, hopefully for most people as well. So yeah, good stuff. So we'll get started pretty soon. And like I said, there'll be a full rewatch of this on the YouTube as well. And that should be quite useful for anyone who wants to see the screen share, who wants to hear the sort of pro recorded audio. Because on the Instagram, it's kind of just coming out my speakers, not that boombox, but the monitor speakers into the phone microphone. So you might not hear the exact detail in like the audio on the Instagram feed. But Whiskey and Synths is a YouTube channel that's kind of like the same as this basically, but it'll be on there. So yeah. EQ. Oh yeah, Phil says, bro, to see this happening. My EQ IQ is pretty flatline. All right, well we'll hopefully get up there today then. That'll be fun, and I've got a wee plan for it as well. So I'm quite excited for it. So yeah, it should be good. So what's the time? Right, that's 10:30, so we'll get started properly as well. So for anyone who's just joined or anyone on the Rewatch, Slanjova music producers, how's it going? Hope you're enjoying your whiskey and your synths as well. So I'm David, and the reason I'm doing this live stream on EQ is it's a little bit of a bonus tacked onto a 3-day mini challenge that I had, which I know quite a lot of you joined in, so thanks for joining in, anyone who has. So the 3-day mini challenge was arrange any track, because we want to get your tracks finished. You want to get your best tracks finished and released and out there. So this mini challenge was like, well, how can we get it arranged? Because that's a big part, going from an 8-bar loop to like a fully arranged track that's like totally ready to mix. And it's something I'm quite passionate about, helping people with that kind of thing. So we did the 3-day mini challenge. The streams of that are available for rewatch on YouTube. So it's Whiskey and Synths YouTube. So Whiskey and Synths on YouTube, should find it. and there's 3 live streams you can rewatch for that. And there's also like a convenient like 10-minute video I put together of it as well, how to arrange any track you can find on that page too. And the idea is like you get your track arranged, you're in an 8-bar loop, get it all laid out in your DAW using Ableton this time, but some of these tricks are going to work in Logic or Cubase or whatever tools, DAWs you're using. And the idea is hopefully this is building up to getting you guys finishing your track. And I've saved some of the best tricks at the end of this live stream, so stick with it. You'll get some good tricks near the end. And this is all because when I was starting out, these were the big problems I had in getting my track finished and released and out there. So that's why I want to help you guys with it. And the other thing I've got coming up in the new year is like a New Year challenge. So it's like 10 steps, 10-hour streams. Not 10-hour streams, it's like 10 sessions. Each one's 1 hour and 1 finished track at the end of it. And at the end of it, there'll be a compilation released on Tonic Note Records. That's my label, which has been going for 7 years. So in the new year, if you're interested in joining that, I'm launching that this whole week. You might have heard about it already. And there's a massive 25% off, which finishes tonight, UK time, Saturday, UK time. But anyway, hopefully all this free content is going to help you out. And if you want, you can join the New Year Challenge if you want. So let's get into it. Just want to say hi to Narina, who's just joined. Hope you're going well. We're just doing a bit of a tutorial on EQ, which is quite exciting. So with EQ, what I'll do a bit first is I'll play the master of this track, right? And I'm going to drop an EQ plugin on it. So those on Instagram won't see the screen share of this, but hopefully you'll get the idea of it. And those on the Whiskey and Synths YouTube, you're actually going to see this, which is cool. So I'm going to drop an EQ plugin on my master channel, just to help describe this a little bit. And over on these kind of plugins, on the left-hand side of it, it represents the bass. The middle of it's like the mid frequencies, which is quite often where voice, guitar, lead synths live. And then over on the right hand side of it, like kind of like a graph or chart, it represents the high frequencies, which is quite often where hi-hats live, quite often where you get hi-hats, you get other things like that, like kind of really high-pitched lead sound effects, things like that. So the idea is you want to be careful with how this is put together, because sometimes if you've got a bass sound and then you've got a kick drum and they're too close in frequencies and they hit at the same time, you get the biggest problem in mixing, which is called masking. And that's when two sounds overlap and make each other weaker rather than stronger. So EQ, the big thing we're going to do today is try and EQ things to avoid that. Or for example, you might have a bass line that actually has loads of high frequency content in it that is getting in the way of your hi-hat. So that means you have to cut that out. Or you might have a hi-hat that has loads of weirdly low frequency content in it, and you cut that away. And hopefully that means you can therefore create a kind of mix that has more clarity to it. And we're kind of doing quite subtle things here, but it's not going to be like drastically changing the sound of your track already. So what I thought I'd start with is the drums and bass, because man, if you get your drums and bass right, usually that is going to be like the sort of thing that really helps in your track. It's almost like the backbone of your track. Once you get your drums and bass right, everything else sort of falls into place. So I was going to go to my drum track here, and quite often I'll start with my kick drum. So I'm going to just loop this part of the drums here. And I'm going to go into the drum rack and find the kick drum and solo it. Okay, so we've got a Lindrum style kick drum here, which I really like. Prince famously used them. And I'm going to drop the EQ8 plugin on it. And with the kick drum, what I'm going to look at when it's playing, or it should be playing, or maybe I've got other kick drums in this drum rack. Actually, it's the 608 kick. All right, it's the 606 kick drum at this point in the song. So let's have a look at that one first then. So I'm going to solo it. Yeah, Phil knows about the Linn drums, they're class. This one's actually a 606, and it is okay to layer kick drums as long as you're EQing them at the same time as well to kind of keep them kind of separated and avoid masking like we talked about at the start of the stream. So you'll see it's got a lot, on this one, it's kind of mainly living around the 64 hertz mark, which is quite low. Now, what's interesting is there's a classic thing in EQ is like, how do you make your bass stronger? You cut the bass, which is counterintuitive. Like, you don't boost the sub bass area. And what I'm talking about is a range of frequencies from like 0 hertz all the way to about 35 hertz to 40 hertz. Now, those frequencies are so low, only like the biggest club or like festival sound systems will reproduce them. They actually, you'll feel them in your chest rather than actually hear them. And on most systems, like my speakers here, don't even reproduce frequencies under 35 hertz. So what we can do with our kick drum is actually cut the bass to like 35 hertz, like that. And then once you've done a cut, you can reward yourself with a little boost. So that's another little saying as well. Once you've cut, reward yourself with a cheeky boost in the area where it's strongest. Now what we do is we cut hard. You can cut things away quite hard, but you can only boost gently. Big boost sound unnatural. So I've only boosted that area at like about 64 hertz by about 2 decibels there. So that's it with the EQ. That's it without. And those hearing this on the YouTube stream should be able to hear, if you're listening on headphones, that it's actually a lot more impactful. And another great saying I got taught, shout out Robert Efferson who taught me this, is you want your kick drum to sound like doof, not woof. You don't want woo, woo, woo. You want doof, 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 doof. Doof, not woof. Great saying. And EQ really helps with that. Removing the woo, subby, muddy frequencies lets you do that. Now, kick drums quite often have resonant frequencies, and resonant frequencies are high-pitched ringing noises that kind of are a bit like, ah. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the resonant frequency of this one using a technique called search and destroy. So that's where you get a node on your EQ, you turn the Q to the maximum and bring the gain up. And so you've got this like peak that you can scan through the frequencies, and usually between 300 hertz and 500 hertz on a kick drum, you will find a resonant frequency. So I'm going to scan it. It might sound a bit weird, this. You get that kind of weird. What we're listening for is something that's really whistling. Nothing too bad in this one. So nothing too bad in this one. It's quite a good sample. About there, about 300 hertz is a little bit whistly. So I'm just going to turn down the gain a little bit on that one. And what that does is it takes away the kind of resonant frequency of it. So cool. We've got another person join the stream. Atarin Music joined us. Welcome. Hope you're doing well. All about EQ on today's stream. So thanks for joining us there. That's really cool. And if you missed any of it, it started at 10:30. We've got the whole rewatch is going to be on the Whiskey and Synths YouTube. We've just EQ'd our kick drum, and that's kick drum 1 I've noticed. And like I said, it lived about the 64 hertz mark. Now what I want to check is, is there any points it's layered with the other kick drum, and do I need to watch out for that and make sure they're not masking each other or overlapping. So let's see. We're still on the 606 kick drum on this one. Oh no, now I can, on this loop, I can check out the Linn drum kick drum. So let's have a look at that. So this one's main whack lives about 40 hertz. So that's quite cool. So the other one lives at about 60 hertz. This one lives about 40 hertz. So if they're together, they're not going to mask each other too much. Whereas if they were both at about 64 hertz, they might mask each other and make themselves a bit more unclear. So what I'll do is I'll take the sub frequencies out of this one, cutting it to about 30 hertz on this one, I think I'll do it. And I'm going to boost it at about 40 hertz, where it lives, by about 2 dB. And then what I might do is I might do a little dip at 60 hertz, just a little dip, and that'll make space more for the other kick drum as well, which is quite cool. Okay, so when they're layered, they should sound a bit better. And I'm also going to see if I can find another resonant frequency in this one, because like I said, a lot of kick drums will have a resonant frequency at about 300 to 500 hertz. So let's have a look at that. So I'm going to scan the frequencies now, listening for that very resonant frequency, about between 300 and 500 hertz usually. .369 hertz is whistling quite a bit. So what I'll do is I'll make a dip at 369 hertz, turn the gain down like that. And then a really important thing to do is when you are doing your EQing and you've soloed everything, what you want to do is unsolo it and check, does it still sound good in the mix? And you're going to ask yourself a question when you unsolo it: do I need to make it louder in the mix, quieter in the mix, or just keep the volume the same? Because EQing affects the overall volume of things as well. So you'll need to check that and ask that question. I could probably come up a little bit. Now I'm going to come back to the other things in the drums, because a good thing to do is, whilst you've done your kick drum, let's work on the bass as well. And because we don't want those to mask each other, and they normally live in a similar area. So I'm going to loop a part of the song that I know has got the strong bass line to it, like this. There we go. Okay. So this bass has a lot of frequency content in the lows and the mids, and the highs give it that sizzle. So we probably don't want to change too much of it. Then it is the main lead kind of moment in the song, the synth bass. But like always, we can cut away. You can almost on everything cut away to like about 35 hertz. Get that sub bass gone. You don't need it. So I'm going to do that. And then it looks like its main frequency region is about 59 hertz, so not too far away from the kick drum. So I might give it a little boost there. Now, the thing is, EQ can only do so much with this. What you might want to do is, even when you're programming in your kick drums and your synths, especially bass synth or bass guitar, is you almost don't want them hitting at the same time. So if your kick drum's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and your synth's like 1, 2, 3, 4, they almost definitely will mask the synth and the bass synth and the kick. Whereas if it's like kick, bass, kick, bass, kick, bass, they don't always overlap and hit at the same time. That's cool. But if you are having problems and they're hitting at the same time, EQ is a way that can help with this. Cool, we got Emil with us as well. Emil, how's it going? Thanks for joining. So we're just EQing loads of things on the Instagram and Whiskey and Synths YouTube stream today. Kind of session all about EQ, and this will be available as a full rewatch as well on the Whiskey and Synths YouTube if you want to catch up on any of it. We started at 10:30, we'll probably go to about 11. But yeah, I'm just kind of going through everything and EQing it. Now what I want to do is show you guys a cool thing. So we talked about how when you make an EQ cut, you can reward yourself with a little boost. And sometimes you can do that in the same EQ plugin, like Ableton and Logic and other DAW stock plugins. What they do is they get the job done and that's it. And they're done with clarity basically. Whereas with other EQ plugins, they get the job done and add character. So usually for my EQ cuts, I will cut with the normal stock EQ plugin, and then with the boost I'll use a sort of other more characterful EQ plugin to do the boost. So on my kick bass here, I've got my EQ and I've cut it at 35 Hertz and I've not done any boosts. Now what I'm going to do is get a plugin here that I really like. It's in the PTEQX, which is based on the Pultec plugin, which is like really old-fashioned hardware audio unit. And this one I got for free online, so by Ignite Amps. And it looks complicated, but really I'm looking at this area here on the bottom left of it, where I can set the frequency to be about 60 Hertz and give it a boost with its boost dial. And what it does is it boosts it and adds warmth and character to it that the normal EQ plugin doesn't. So this is a good hack. If you're doing EQ, make your EQ cuts with like a stock plugin, like Ableton stock EQ8 it's called, or I think on Logic it's channel EQ, and then get maybe a paid or a free plugin. There's loads of free ones. Look up Analog Obsession EQ plugins. That's a good place to start. And this one's by Ignite Amps that I'm using. So that's quite cool. So I thought I'd show you that. And then, like I said, when you've worked in solo, you need to unsolo it. And as it's playing, ask yourself the question, do I now need to adjust this track's volume to be louder, quieter, or just the same? And sometimes the answer is not at all, but EQ does affect the volume. So let's unsolo the bass and see how it sounds in the track. It's going to bring it down a little bit, I think. And what we're going to do is we're going to go EQ everything on our project. And you might think, oh, that's going to take so much time. But to be honest, we've only been in the stream about 20 minutes. All we really started after the introduction EQing for about 10 minutes. And I've already got 3 of them done. So what I'm going to do is go back to the drums and show you what it's like on a hi-hat or some other percussion. Yeah, there's our hi-hat there. Lindrum hi-hat, love Lindrum stuff. It's all kind of very cool and 80s sounding. So let's drop an EQ8 on the Lindrum hi-hat. And as you can see, on the YouTube, on the Instagram, you won't, but I'll describe it. Because the EQ is like a chart, and over on the left-hand side, it shows you the bass frequencies. This hi-hat has loads of bass frequencies going on in it, as far back as, like, all the way back to, like, 20 Hertz, which is, like, ridiculous for a hi-hat. You don't need that. It's getting in the way of our actual bass line or kick drum. So I'm going to take the EQ, cut away right up to the highs. And a good trick to do is, if you aren't sure, just cut it as far as it sounds bad and then pull it back until it sounds right. Sounds bad, bring it back. So it is important to retain the character of the sound that you're EQing. Now, like with the bass line, I've done my cut with EQ8, but now I'm going to load in the SSQ plugin, which is a free plugin by Analog Obsession that emulates an SSL EQ plugin, which is a very famous EQ on famous big SSL mixing desks. Pardon me. And you can get paid versions of this. I like teaching and showing people with like free stuff, because you probably spent a lot of money already on music production. So this one, I'm going to use this to boost the highs on it like this. So I'll max out. That's a good trick as well. If you're not sure about a plugin, how it works, max out the parameter you're doing, then you'll really hear it. And you're like, okay, then bring it back to 0 and then do it with your EQ boosts. EQ boosts are normally about 1 to 2 dB. You don't want to go mad with it. So we're going to bring up the about 2 dB boost, about 5 kilohertz. Maybe go 6 kilohertz on a hi-hat. And what that can do is just add that character. So you're cutting away frequencies you don't need, and then you're boosting frequencies that you do like. So cool. Hey, we got Valerio on the stream as well. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for this. We're about 20 minutes into a 30-minute tutorial on EQ. So thanks for joining. Just so you know, there also is going to be a rewatch of this on the Whiskey and Synths YouTube, and that will be available for the whole session It'll be up there permanently, so you can get the whole story of EQ, and it's got the screen share on my computer and like the pro audio as well. But thanks for joining the Instagram live stream. Hopefully you get something out of this. Good stuff, good stuff. So what are we doing just now? We've got we've EQ'd our hi-hat. Let's look at what other percussion we've got, because with drums and bass, once you get that right, it really helps the rest of the mix. I think I want to find a bit of the track where it's got some snare drum or some clap in it, because that's a classic thing we need to look at for sure. So maybe go here. Yeah. That drum's quite loud. That's our snare drum there. He's quite loud, so I'm going to bring it down a bit. For this tutorial, you might notice I've not actually spent a lot of time mixing the volumes in this yet. That would normally be my first step in mixing, but this stream is dedicated to just doing EQ, so I thought I'll focus on that for this. So I'm going to put my EQ8 on the Jupiter Dark snare, and just shouting out where I got almost all these drum samples from. It's called Samples from Mars, and they've got a massive sale on. I'm not like sponsored by them or anything, but every year they do a big sale on their entire collection. But I am impressed by like what they do. They get drum machines and synths and sample them through beautiful retro technology, and so their samples sound absolutely amazing, like all the classics you want and more. So yeah, I'm not affiliated, but I can recommend that. And like I said, I like using a lot of free stuff in my tutorials, but if anyone is looking for a Black Friday deal or whatever, Samples from Mars, like their drum sounds are just like my go-to. Like literally just it's like having the real thing. So love them. So a snare drum, let's go back to that. Okay, now as you can see, and maybe hear, this snare drum has a lot of low frequency content right down to 10 hertz. So I'm going to cut that away till it sounds bad. Remember, that's the trick. Cut it away till it sounds bad. Then pull it back till it sounds good again. Oh, nice. A lot of impact there. Now on a snare or clap, you might want to emphasize the mid frequencies of it. So I've done my cut with the standard EQ8, which does the job but doesn't add character really. And then I'm going to add my SSQ, and I'm going to do a boost at about, let's have a look. I can use the chart on EQ8 to figure it out. Maybe about 500 hertz will be my plan with that. So I'm going to set the EQ8, I'm going to set the SSQ, which is an SSL EQ emulation, to about 500 hertz, which is 0.5 kilohertz, and give it a little 2 dB boost is my plan. There we go. Okay. Remember, you only boost gently. That's the trick. Oh, that sounds way better now. And what it does is it does mean that, because I've cut the bass frequencies, it allows more space for our kick drum and synth bass line. You might be able to cut some of the highs, or just gently take a bit of the highs out of it, which will leave space for our hi-hats later as well. You might notice volume spikes in this Jupiter snare drum, and that's because I've actually, in the original clip, got a lot of velocity information on it. So if the snare drum's here, it does change velocity a lot. So velocity is all about when a thing hits, the velocity changes its volume, but also its tonal character as well. And it's really important to get that realistic feel and groove. So don't forget to put velocity in your drum programming. We got George here as well. George, how's it going? Hope all the composing and that's going well. Yeah, nice fun. I'm just doing an EQ tutorial, and you can get the full rewatch of it on Whiskey and Synths, because we'll be going for about another 10 minutes. But we covered quite a lot of ground already. But if you're interested, Whiskey and Synths on YouTube is where you'll get the rewatch when we finish. All about EQ today. Now, I've got a pad here that's quite beautiful, I think, or kind of cool. It's a great synth. I'll recommend this. It's a free plugin called the FB3300. So FB3300 by Full Bucket Music, who makes some of the best free synth plugins. Love them. And I've got this kind of pad kind of thing on the go, so I've soloed it. I'll let you guys hear it. Love that. Now I can already hear some problems with the EQ on that. So I'm going to drop my EQ on. Okay, loop that area. There we go. I think we got some resonant frequency. So I'm going to cut away some of the sub bass. Okay, it's about 89 hertz. And then what I'm going to do is maybe add a little dip here. There. And then what I'm going to do is with node 3, I'm going to use that to do search and destroy EQ. Now, by the nature of this synth, it is quite a resonant sounding synth. I think that's to do with the filter. So we're not going to do millions of EQ search and destroy cuts because that can make your sound very brittle. So I don't want to do that. But what I want to do is maybe get rid of like the worst one, and that'll help. So I'm going to sweep through and find the worst resonant frequency. Not too bad there. 529 is pretty bad. .529 was the worst, so we can maybe reduce that. And what I'm going to do is cut that out. So I've swept along, basically imagine the graph like that. If you're on Instagram, YouTube, you'll see this. Swept along, found that frequency, and then turned down the gain so it just goes choo and chops away just that frequency. That's it. So I've got the EQ on. If I turn it off, you'll hear it's much more resonant. And the idea of getting rid of resonant frequencies is you want people to reach to turn up your music, not to reach to turn it down, because they're like, my ears. So the more resonant frequencies you find and get rid of, well, you want to get rid of the worst ones anyway. Because like I said, if you do it too much, that technique, your mix will sound quite brittle. And then I actually don't think that sound needs any EQ boosts to it. I'm quite happy just to do the cuts this time, and that's a decision sometimes you'll make as well. And then what we did on this track is we actually added a noise floor to it. So if you've not heard of that before, a noise floor is when it's like a quiet background noise that runs through the whole track, quite often a recording you've made, like a field recording or something, and it adds this texture to your track. And you sometimes try and match the field recording to the story you want to tell with your music. Like this one's kind of got a bit of a spooky feel, so I've got this kind of rain kind of in the background, but it's so quiet you can't really hear it. But you need to EQ that kind of thing too. So for example, this one you'll see and hear has loads of sub bass frequencies in it. That's all going to get in the way of stuff going on when the bass kick drum and bass lead bass synth. So I just want the sizzling kind of sound from it. So I'm going to take that all the way to there. Now sometimes you might change the slope of your EQ cut just to be a bit more gentle like that. So you can either have a sharp cut or less sharp slope, and sometimes you do want it to be a bit more gentle rather than all these harsh cuts as well, but you can get away with cutting quite harshly like that as well. And that's EQing that. Cool. Monstergram just joined. How's it going? Hope you're good. So we're just doing like an EQ tutorial just now. Hope everyone's enjoying it so far. Thanks to everyone over on the YouTube as well. Remember, leave any comments if you have any questions about this or any comments or just general things you like or know about EQ. And then if you do have any general comments on music production, just you can leave that to near the end. Comment and I'll answer them as best I can towards the end as well. We'll be wrapping up in about 5 minutes time actually. And thanks to everyone who's watching it live, and if you're watching it on the rewatch, thanks for that. So that's some of my favorite things with EQ that I want to show you guys, and you'd go through every instrument following those policies. Basically, you want to avoid sounds that are similar, being exact same EQ region. So you might cut a little bit of this area on one to allow space in the other. If you have a high sound that's got a lot of sub bass in it, get rid of it. If you've got a sub bass sound that's got a lot of highs in it, when you look at the EQ and listen to the EQ, you cut that away. And once you've done your cuts, you will then do an EQ boost. So when you cut, you reward yourself with a boost in the area of where you think that sound's meant to live and to be emphasized. And if you do your boost with a plugin that adds character, that's cool. So you can do your cuts with your stock EQ, and then maybe get a free EQ plugin like SSQ or a Pool Tech style one to then do your boosts later. It's well worth doing it like that. And one thing I'll show you on your master is you can even add an EQ on your master bus and take away all sub bass below 35 hertz. You can literally just do that as well. Koya Gata just joined as well, so thanks for joining. Hope you're doing good. Hope the music's making's doing good and everyone's having a good Saturday morning and stuff. So that is one thing I'd recommend on your master bus at the end. Take away sub bass from that, and it'll make things sound a bit clearer as well. But essentially, for those that just joined, sorry, that's us kind of reaching the end of this like EQ tutorial. And on Instagram there'll be a rewatch, but I also recommend checking out the rewatch on the YouTube. It's called Whiskey and Synths. So Whiskey and the Synths, San Jovan music producers. You can go there and watch this whole stream. It's only about 30 minutes from start to end, getting tips on EQ, how to do it on every instrument. And like I said, this is all part of my free like 3-step challenge that was to get your track from an 8-bar loop fully arranged. So those rewatches are there as well, 3 steps. And this was the bonus step. I thought, well, what do you do next? You get it EQ'd, and which is the beginnings of the mixing stage as well. And like I said, if anyone is interested, I'm running a New Year challenge called Finish That Damn Track New Year Challenge. And what I'd love is to see you on that in the new year. It starts like in February. And what it is, it's like 10 sessions, 10 hours, and 1 finished track, your finished track at the end of it, that is self-mastered and release ready. And there is the option, if you want to put it on Tonic Note Records, my label, and actually get it released at the end of this challenge on it with actual artwork, and there'll be videos to promote it. Artists will still retain the full rights to their music. We don't own it or make money off it. You retain that. Even in future, if that track gets a chance to be re-released on a bigger label and you want us to take it down, we will. But it's just still cool that you, at the end of the challenge, you don't just have a finished track, you actually have it out there. And it's what a strong way to start the year, hopefully, and solve that problem of having unfinished tracks and all that. So if you want to join that challenge, probably the best day to join it is today, which is Saturday the 16th, and at basically 5 to midnight UK time, there's a deal that's going to end. It's 25% off, so you get like a package worth of training and everything, because it's not just the sessions. You get in between, you get one-to-one sessions, you get a whole package of like extra things, which the details are on my website, that's worth over £1,000, but with the actual discount code, what's normally about 490 quid, the discount takes it down to 367, which you can pay in installments as well. So it starts in February, so it gives you plenty of time to do that. And what I want to do is just on live Zoom calls, and in between the calls you can contact me, and then there's, like I said, extra resources too, like our community, which is online, and our free monthly group sessions as well. So you get so much to get that track finished and released. And I guarantee it as well, essentially, if you have done all the stuff and 4 weeks after it's finished, you're like, oh Dave, I just don't think this is release ready yet. Basically the guarantee is I'll work with you for free until it is. And that sometimes takes 1 session or 2 sessions just on Zoom to get you over the finish line. So I'm really happy with how it's been put together. I really hope it's going to solve people's problems of like, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do, and I want it released. I want it finished and released. And the idea, it won't take more time than normal for you. Hopefully you won't have to put more time than you normally do into music production, because I know like that's a thing people lack. We all got jobs, you know, side hustles, families. So hopefully these sessions will be like boom, 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 show you what to do without the confusing side quests down YouTube rabbit holes and the distractions, and just get that new year started strong as well. And if it's not for you, that's fine. I hope you've still got a lot out of these free live sessions. I'm still going to have free podcasts out every week on music production, free content pretty much all the time on the Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all that. So hopefully I can still help. But if you're interested, you know how to find it. Just click the link in the bio, or you can message me, Dave, or something like that, me, to, you know how to message on the Instagram, easy to get in touch, or comment on my latest post, or just get in touch somehow. And that deal will expire tonight at midnight, basically. So yeah, hope you can take advantage of it. Hope to see you there, and thanks for joining the live stream. Just checking if there's any last questions. Now's the chance to put it in the chat. It doesn't look like we've got any questions, but I want to say thank you for everyone who's viewed this, and hopefully you got a lot out of it. And if you're on the rewatch as well, working away in detail, that's great. And if you've any questions, remember, you can always message and get in touch with me. Happy to help all the music producers out there. Phil, thanks for joining in. Thanks for your comment. Thanks, Dave. Great watching. I really appreciate your eyes and ears. And I will catch you later. Cheers, guys. Bye. Enjoy your whiskey. Enjoy your synth. Slange music producers. I'll catch you later. Cheers. Bye.